Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the lights.
It works out for, it's
were
a viable
questioned.
strategy.
There was nothing else. There were a couple of things that were in the city.
Sounds good.
So what tonight?
They teach this. You know, I thought I'd upgrade myself. We do talk about that in school. Yeah, I know how the guys are.
Yeah, it's badge with your desk, sure.
Yep. Yep. How are you? It's been a while. I like it.
Oh, one I didn't want. So I remember it was a thing, so it's chips and cards and all this.
Yeah, I don't
Even
remember.
got the,
You were going to
button, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes nice. 3 items. That's both ways. True. But we got.
Yeah.
Cool. I was gonna tell you that.
You sorry against Rosa.
Well, I don't know what that is.
None of mine.
Yeah.
Okay, another.
No, it's,
Hey.
So is Tom gonna be here tonight? I haven't heard that he won't be, so I'm assuming he's just running a little behind. That works.
yeah.
My little angle.
All right, we'd like to welcome everyone and call to order the study meeting of the West Valley City Council. It is October 22nd, 2024. We're beginning our meeting at 4:33 p.m. in the multipurpose room of City Hall. Have all members of the council present. Councilman Norfelt, Councilman King, Councilman Fitzsimmonu, Councilman Whetstone, Councilman Harmon, Councilman Christensen, myself. We're also joined at the table with our city manager, Mr. Peely, and our city recorder, Ms. Kamick. We have our meeting minutes from October 8th, 2024. Turn those over to the council for discussion or a motion.
Just had one comment on page 11. I think it should say, it just has will.
Okay,
So
I'll fix.
other than that, I motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those minutes stand approved. We are starting back up our introductions for our new employees. So we'd like to welcome our new employees for the month of September. We will ask each of their department heads to come to the podium and introduce them. We'll start with Mr. Flores.
Stand by.
Thank you. So this is Paula Melgar I have here with me, which maybe some of you have already met. She's our HR director. When was your hire date? Do you remember? Been here about a month. So just a quick few things on Paula. She has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and she has an MPA. She's worked in city government for 24 years. The last 8 years, she was the HR director at Cottonwood Heights. She speaks Spanish and Portuguese, and she's very excited to be here at West Valley City. Any questions, anything I can answer, or maybe Paula? No?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll now have Mr. Morris.
Come on up, Allie. Council would like to introduce you to Allie McCain. She's our newest employee in the animal shelter. She's one of our very fine technicians. She's been here about a month. She's a longtime volunteer with animals. This is her first job actually getting paid to work with animals. We're very appreciative. The employees love her and the animals love her every bit as much. So any questions for Allie? Great to have you here, Allie. Thank you.
It'll be great to work with you. Thank you. And finally, we have Mr. Dan Johnson.
We have Leslie and McKenna. Leslie Satini and McKenna Breeze are our two newest street maintenance workers. They spent the summer working with us as seasonal employees and have spent a lot of time out on the asphalt and and I've heard nothing but good about them. They came very highly recommended from the people that they've worked with over the summer, and we're really grateful that we had an opportunity to bring them on full time and permanent. So Leslie and McKenna.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you as well. So your department heads are being very kind because in the past you had to stand up and introduce yourselves. So you're being really kind. All right. We'll now go to our awards and we have a proclamation to declare November 23rd, 2024 as World Suicide Prevention Day. Is there a council member that would like to read this one? Okay, Scott will do that one. And then we'll move to our regular meeting tonight. And it looks like we have an update. So we'll ask Mr. Pastrick to come up and give us that update.
Thank you, Mayor. Steve Pastor, Community Development Director. So with this general plan zone change the council will be considering later this evening, we did have a change to the development agreement. And so in that agreement, there are the new items are in the Exhibit B. So it's items 17, 31, and 32 are the additions. And so just briefly, those changes, 17 is that no basement entrances would be allowed. So that's one. And then 32, or excuse me, 31 and 32 are similar to what was done in the Redwood Drive-In property. So the number of rental units would be capped by the HOA at 30%. And then also language in there about no more than 4 unrelated persons that would also be enforced by the HOA. So those are the 3 revisions that were made since our last meeting.
Okay, any questions from the council? So the reason for the walkouts were for the basement entrances.
So the concern expressed by the council a few weeks ago was just the concern about boarding homes or the potential for that. And so that was an approach that was used in the Redwood Drive-In site on the single family homes as maybe a way to discourage that or make it more difficult to do.
Just confirming that. And then any other questions from anybody else?
So the amenities will remain and the lot sizes will stay around 4,000.
Right. So the overall proposal has not changed. It's just those 3 items in the development agreement that were revised.
So those 3 items, we put them on the development agreement at the drive-in and then here. Do we just need to put those into our ordinances or do we want to deal with those one by one?
So that's probably something we'd want to discuss with our legal department. I think part of the thought process, I know with the drive-in was that we had the HOA enforce some of those provisions because we felt like the city couldn't do that. So I think that's something we would have to explore more, but at least at the time, that was the concern is for example, when it comes to like rent or restricting 30% of the units to, or allowing only 30% to be rentals, from a legal perspective, I don't think the city can do that, but the HOA can.
But we could do the walkouts and the unrelated.
So the basements, we probably could do that through zoning.
Okay.
The 4 unrelated, again, I'd have to check with legal, but I don't think we can.
Okay.
And maybe that's something we can bring back and discuss in more detail with the council, but just based on the conversation we've had up to this point, I don't think you could do that.
All right. And the roads are private or public? Public.
Okay, so these just be the standard 54-foot right of way.
And with the narrowness of each of the lots, there's really not going to be an opportunity for on-street parking, correct?
So there could be, so where these lots, most of them are 50 feet wide. So if you have a driveway that's say 18 to 20 feet, then there could be space for at least 1 car parked in front of the house, yeah.
Okay.
My big hangup is the frontage for the homes that are gonna be on 6,000. Yeah. Probably be a no tonight.
Was there any talk with them about having wider lots?
Yeah, and so I think that the applicant who's here tonight can address that more, but just looking at and again, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but the price of the land to do this and to be able to build the product they're looking at, I don't think they could make it work with reducing the lot count, but That's my understanding in talking with them is that to go with wider frontages means you'd be losing lots, which I don't think they can make the project work at that point, but they can speak more to that.
But that's not really our problem, right? If they can make it pencil or not, that's their problem.
The only thing I would say to that is that it's not our problem if we're good with what's on the property now.
Well, and have you done the math? How many lots would they lose if they made the ones on 6,000? Normally it's in your brain already.
Probably two, they'd probably lose
Probably
two, yeah, two, maybe three, I don't know.
If it was only on 6,000 that
Yeah,
we asked for that.
have to look back at the plat.
Okay, I don't see anyone else having a question. Maybe Jake?
Personally heard of any feedback, either for or against, from folks in the area, but has the city received any feedback?
I did get a few phone calls from folks and their main concern is they just wanted it to be single family detached. So once they heard that, they didn't seem to have concerns. Initially, people were just worried that maybe it was apartments or townhomes or something like that. But once we explained that it's smaller lots, but single family detached, there really wasn't any opposition.
Just a comment on the 6,000. So the council can still restrict on-street parking regardless of the development agreement.
Exactly.
That would be my concern, just there's a lot of blind spots on that particular section and on-street parking would make it more dangerous than maybe other streets.
And I explained that to the developer that because it's a city street, the city could decide today to restrict that, or anytime in the future, we could make that decision.
That frontage issue on 6,000 is an issue with enough folks? Is it worth sending it back for a redraw or to look at what something else might look like? Or
Might be.
Thank you, Jay. That's the question. I think that we need a little bit bigger, do some more. Go back to Scott said that the business about this. The price, about the market. I think they have to pencil it out and figure out how to tackle this.
I agree with Scott. I don't know that what's there necessarily is the best thing. My parents actually lived in one of those homes 30 plus years ago, but it would be great to see the right fit of a development go into that area.
I agree.
Three or four lots.
Oh, it'd be 3 to 4?
Yeah.
How many lots are on there right now? I tried pulling up, couldn't find it
41?
fast enough.
41's the total.
I mean, just on
16.
6,000,
16,
16, so they would lose 3 or 4
yeah.
if we widened them.
And that's if they just go from 50 to 70, which my issue is matching the frontage of the houses across the street. They're probably closer to 90 or 100 across the street, so I'm just saying, okay, let's go 70 instead of 50. They would probably lose 3 or 4.
and we made that an issue with the swap meet, right? That piece too, and that's why I brought it up. That's something we should consider.
Yeah. It keeps us consistent. Okay. Thank you. I didn't see anybody else. Okay. All right, we'll go to our public hearing regarding TZ 11/2024 to Mr. Pastrick.
Thank you, Mayor. So this zone or zoning ordinance change is actually at the request of the council. So simply stated, this change would allow tattoo establishments in all commercial and industrial zones.
Okay, any questions on this one? Okay, sounds pretty simple. Thank you. All right, we'll now go to our communications and turn the time over to Chief Jacobs for our airsoft gun discussion.
Good evening, Tony Jacobs, Chief of Police. Several weeks ago, you had a young lady come in and present on airsoft guns, and a communication item was requested. So I have some information for you. So far this year, the police department has responded to over 90,000 calls for service. Of those, 43 have involved airsoft guns. The calls that have been reported have been everything from found property to damaged property, incidents involving animals, children target practicing, assaults, airsoft guns being used as dangerous weapons, and airsoft guns just being present at a call. Of the 43, 13 of the calls were juvenile related. The use of airsoft guns and other items similar to that are against City Ordinance 21-3-104, use of a projectile weapon. It's a Class B misdemeanor. In speaking with Parks and Rec, they report that airsoft guns and similar type items are fairly commonly used in the parks, and they go unreported to police. This could be addressed by a few ways, educating the employees so that when they do report, they call the police. Posting signs in the park that it's illegal to use these items, and then pushing information out over social media on the subject. Airsoft guns and similar items look very real, and it affects the feeling of safety among some people. The city ordinance does address some of the presenters' concerns. One thing not addressed was the orange tip being removed. Of the 43 incidents, one of the incidents, the orange tip had been ground off to make it look more real. So these are challenging calls for law enforcement to respond on. The fake guns look just like the real guns with or without the orange tip. And there are some instances where people actually paint the end of their real gun to make it look like a toy. So it makes it very, very difficult to tell the difference. So in a nutshell, that is my report. Any questions?
You have a recommendation.
I think if the council were looking to do something, an ordinance forbidding the removal of the orange tip may be helpful. It is illegal in some states, but not in Utah. For some of the airsoft guns, it is very prevalent. It's a couple inches long, and others it's centimeters. So it's sometimes visible and sometimes not visible even when it's there.
And then we have ordinances to deal with everything else that they're not allowed in the city to be.
They're not allowed to be discharged in the city. Possession is legal. Yeah, the verbiage is the release, discharge, or shooting of, it lists several out, but then there's the catch-all of any device which uses an explosion, compressed air, or return spring to send an object through the air, and it causes or creates a substantial risk of bodily injury to another. So if they're playing in a park and other people are around, then that fits the statute.
Right, thank you.
Yep.
So any discussion on an appetite for an ordinance that would forbid taking off the orange? Just makes it so you can charge one more thing. I don't know if it discourages them or not.
But it's only 1 in 40, 43 that has done it.
Yeah.
Well, that's raises the level of concern for me, so.
It's a challenge, I do think.
Yeah, personality. If I tell you not to, you're going to.
That would be my only concern is for public safety, for police, if they have to deal with it. I think it's not that big of an issue.
For the signs in our parks stating.
Yeah, it sounds like folks, including some employees, have noticed them, but haven't been reporting them, maybe because they don't know that they're illegal.
Or maybe some education. Yeah, for me, even 3 incidences, if our officers misread it and a person was killed, and it was the fake gun for the mental health of our officer and then the loss of life. I don't know. I don't know that an ordinance would change that, but
As a safeguard and as a recommendation raised by our law enforcement, I wouldn't be opposed to that, sure.
What are you suggesting?
so Chief suggested just an ordinance that would outlaw taking the orange tip off the guns. So then,
Outlaw basically means, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Like an additional fine.
an additional penalty, yeah.
Penalty, you know, is it?
It'd have to be a crime. You'd have to write it like it was a different crime or add it to the existing projectile weapon. So it would be like a class C or B misdemeanor. That's how we'd have to do it.
The fact that it's not written in anywhere, it's not against the law to do it. It's against common sense and your own safety, but what 14-year-old has that?
It's true.
I raised 4. It's not there.
We get maybe a memo then of what, how other municipalities have done this in terms of penalties, or I don't know what's appropriate and what's not.
So it might be something we could also take up with the legislature this year.
We want to send a letter to the legislature and say, look at this.
Or yeah, just through our lobbying efforts, just have a statewide look at it instead of just at our level.
More appetite to start with that, see if the legislature deems it worthy.
I have more faith in us here than the legislature. It's me. It's me.
Is that what you're running for?
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Yes. We can be the leaders that will change the whole state. Whichever way.
Well, we have jurisdiction over our municipal,
Yeah.
affairs here, so I'm comfortable talking about that, about what we can do. If there are any others interested in that.
So an appetite for Eric to put together a proposed ordinance and see what it looked like.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then we can take that to the legislature as an example.
Yeah. So we've passed this. Now do you guys want to pass it? Okay. Ask Eric to do that. All right, and then there was a request for Sunset Hills traffic enforcement discussion. I don't remember who brought that up. Okay,
Raise
okay.
that, yeah.
So do you need Eric to come explain anything, or what else would you like to talk about?
I just get a confirmation that what the residents were raising is true. And if so, and if there is any interest in that quasi, what was it? Quasi.
So do you want me to come
Yeah, let's come up.
in the middle of telling Brandon and Ryan to start drafting an ordinance?
Okay, so yeah, it is absolutely true. It was surprising to me. I'd never seen anything like that before, but there is a process where a private road can get this quasi public designation, so the police can enforce traffic on it. The process is weird, and it involves basically making a deal with them after they have had a majority vote of their homeowners association, not just the board, but like the actual people who live in the HOA have to vote by majority. So on our end, not that difficult. I don't know how they would take that vote, and my strong recommendation to the council would be let them handle that part. So if the council's okay with letting them sort of get started on that, it's not that difficult for us. They come back to us with something showing us that the majority of them want this designation. It's easy enough for us just to do a quick ordinance. We have to do a hearing, but it won't be that big a deal. And then we can enforce on those streets. But I think the big work is going to be with them to get that vote.
Mayor, if I may, too, one thing we want to make sure of, that we manage expectations with them, because if they go through that process, we don't want them to expect that we are going to post up somebody and they have their own private security now with our police officer. We're gonna just, if we're there, just like anywhere else in the city, we'll enforce that, but we don't have the resources to go to a private area, post a police officer there, and I'm afraid that that's what they might think. If we give them direction to do this, they're gonna expect that we're gonna have a police officer there watching people the entire time, and that's not the case. So however we communicate to them, we just need to manage that expectation. If we're there, just like if we see it, if it's an issue like any other street, we'll post somebody there, but not on a permanent. We can't afford to do it on a permanent basis.
Not a preferential thing.
Yeah.
We have a lot of public roads where residents are saying, why aren't you enforcing the traffic laws in my street?
So we can give them the process. We just want to make sure that the expectation is, and we can communicate that, but just so you didn't hear anything from them.
It's just traffic enforcement, not like snow removal or.
Yeah, just
traffic.
So at that point, so if they went through this process and successfully lobbied for that, they could avail themselves of, for example, our procedure for requesting traffic calming devices or speed humps.
No,
No, right?
not even that. So they can do that on their own, can't they?
Yeah.
As a private road, sure.
Private road, yeah.
They can do that. So this would just be for.
Just for traffic enforcement, yeah.
First line of defense. Would probably be to put speed bumps in.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
I think they'd get more efficiency out of that than an officer rolling through every once in a while.
Yeah.
So have they been talking to you about it, Jake?
Just the one email. We
Oh,
haven't
okay.
actually corresponded since then.
I don't know if it's worth having staff reach out, talk to him, or you yourself.
It'd be better to have staff, yeah.
Okay,
Not have me as a unreliable middleman.
and then see if they're willing, if they want to move.
So would it be my understanding, if we do that as staff, that the council would make that deal if understanding the managing the expectations, but the council would be willing to at least take that to the vote and allow for that quasi public traffic enforcement in the area? Because that was my big thing. If you guys are going to say no in
Why
2
do it?
months, let's not get them started.
I wonder, maybe there's some things that we're not foreseeing with this. Chief Jacobs, maybe you have some insight on this or any thoughts?
No, they have some plans about speeding and do the particular stop signs in that area that anything gets ramped quite a bit. Those would be the two primary focuses of enforcement. in place.
You see any issue with the changing that to a quasi public? Is that gonna make it harder for the police department or?
No, I don't foresee any additional difficulties. There's other roads in that same subdivision, public roads. I'm not even sure why this is a private road, but it is.
Yeah. Even I wouldn't be looking at this as if they have tried multiple things and then came to us with this, could be more amenable to it. Maybe they're just not aware of some of the other options that they could be doing on their own. So maybe we just have that talk with them up front, let them try some other things, but I'd be okay with that approach.
So have somebody in staff reach out to him and then bring it back and see if there's really a true interest. Is everybody good with that? Okay. Thank you. Council calendar, did anyone have any issues? Or concerns? So Angel sent you out all the opportunities to go and to the public hearings for the regional park. They want to put from 201 to 54 along the Jordan River on both sides. So the main one at Redwood for our area is on a night of council meeting and it overlaps 100% with our meeting. So she sent out 4 others that you could go participate in if you'd like to have that information. And there are postcards in the administration office, and then they'll move those around to the cultural center and the fitness center as well. So people can pick them up and attend if they'd like to. So I just want to make sure everybody knows about that. Anybody else have anything?
And just in the general high level discussion of that topic, have you seen anything that you'd be concerned about or any flags or?
No plans yet. It just came up at our Jordan River Commission meeting. And so I haven't seen any plans or what they want to think they want to do. I know their goal is to make the Jordan River more accessible to everyone, because I know people have concerns about going down there. So they just want to make it more open and so they can make it more populated. A nice amenity for bike riding and walks. I wouldn't call it a hike, but walks and different things for activity for our residents. So I think it'd be a good thing. Okay. Potential future agenda items.
I have one, Mayor.
Okay.
So I sent out an email regarding the Decker Station apartment of doing a potential tour for that, and it sounded like a majority of you were interested in that. So in talking with Mr. Peely, we were wondering if doing it on a Tuesday where we don't have meetings, just at the same time, 4:30 would be good, and if so, we have one on November 19th that might work, if that works for all of you. And then Steve will just have to work with the management. Steve will just have to work with the management company to make sure that that works for them as well. But I just wanted to see if, first of all, if that was comfortable with the council.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Good use of that Tuesday.
I would not be able to, but that's fine.
Okay.
Press over.
Okay.
All right, well, that's
Okay, thank you. So no other potentials, council reports.
Just a couple things. I was able to, my son and I were able to do a ride along with fire 10 days ago. And we had just a ball. It was just so fun. 72 was a great host, and we didn't have any calls, but we had a great time. We're gonna have to do it again when things are a little more lively.
Slide on the pole?
No, I didn't, but we're going to next time for sure. And then I don't think there's a pole in 72.
I don't
is there?
think
There's only
there is.
one that has a pole.
So we need to go do That one's too small for everything else. And then I think you went up to the interfaith, my hometown interfaith on Friday night, and I went up Saturday, so that was a great event to be a part of. So those are 2 reports. Love my hometown.
They're doing a great job.
I had a couple things. One is, I forgot to mention, I attended the homeless task force meeting a couple of weeks ago. And just impressed with the coordination between all the departments and making sure that we're staying on top of those concerns and making sure that residents stay safe, which is good. Went to a community council meeting at Gerald Wright last week. That was good. They spoke about Orchard and Redwood closures and how that'll impact Gerald Wright and other schools. Redrawing of the lines. Fall Fest on Saturday. Great. We'll visit. Good turnout, it seemed like.
Thank you.
Not necessarily a report, but an invitation. There is a community meeting that the athletic directors and administrators of Hunter, Granger, Cypress, Kearns, and West Jordan are hosting tomorrow night at 7. Initially, it was the invitees were mainly state legislators. They want to talk about House Bill 415 and how that's impacting all of the sports teams and their budgets and making it unaffordable essentially. But they reached out and said if any of the city council members, since these are your constituents as well who are being affected, would like to come. That's tomorrow at Hunter High.
The auditorium or someone
The media center at 7 p.m. tomorrow.
without the library.
I think that's good. Yeah. The library.
Library. I think I know where that is in that school.
Left turn when you get into the front doors.
Do what? Left?
Left turn.
Okay, that's what was in my brain. Okay, seeing no other reports, we do have a need for a closed session for pending litigation. If someone would like to make that motion,
So moved.
Second.
we have a motion and a second, Ms. Kamic.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilman Whitstone.
Yes.
Councilman Harmon.
Yes.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Nordfelt. And Mayor Ling.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We will take a 5-minute break and then we'll go into closed session with no other business and we'll adjourn straight from there. So do we need a motion here?